Hey folks, this is Burke, and in this video we're going to take a look at how to use the debugger in Visual Studio Code to do things like set breakpoints and step into and step over and use the general debugging functionality built into Visual Studio Code. Now here in this project I have a file here called currency.js that calculates currencies, but it also throws an error currently. And let's assume for a second I didn't write this code, so I'm not exactly sure where the error is. Now, to go ahead and run this, we have a launch configuration that we can run by just clicking on the play button here. Now this will start the program and then the program will terminate because there was an error and so the program stops. Now where do we see the output for this program? If we press Control or Command backtick, this opens the terminal, but we don't see anything here because we didn't run the app from the terminal. If we want to see the output from the debug process, what we need to do is press Command or Control Shift Y, and that opens the debug console. You can also access it from these three little dots here. And here we can see that there's a couple of different things going on. So the first one is that we're printing out the value of 10 euros and we're not truncating to do 2 decimal places. That's not right. That needs to be fixed. And then down here we have this actual error that's being thrown. So let's go ahead and start to debug this using a breakpoint. But where to start? Where should we put a breakpoint? Let's take a look at our code here. If we look at the code that we're working with, starting from the top and moving down, there's quite a few functions, but when we get down here towards the end, there's a print foreign values function that looks like a good candidate for a breakpoint. So what we can do is set a breakpoint here and just see if we even get this far. That's a really good way to debug, is just set a breakpoint and see if you get to the breakpoint. And if you did, that means the error has not been thrown yet. So let's go ahead and run, and it breaks. Okay, so the debugger's attached. So currently we haven't thrown an error yet. So let's go ahead and step into this function to figure out what's happening inside the function. So to do that, we're going to use this arrow here, which is the step into function. And then what we can do is begin to step over these lines to figure out what their values are. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that these parameters have values. And we can mouse over them to see that, or you can see them in the side panel here. And as new variables are added, they automatically show up. So let's step over, and we'll step over the 4, which puts us inside of the if statement. And if we step over again, that puts us now inside of the if statement itself, the body of the if statement. And we can see that these converted value and display value have now been added. And we can step over and see our converted value is that's that 11.3636 repeating that we saw. And then display value gets set right here. So let's step over that. And the program is still running. There hasn't been an error. We're good. So display value is correct. And this is what we actually want to show people in the program's output. So the next line is actually going to log that out. And you can see here, it's going to log out converted value, target currency. So do you see the problem? I see the problem. The problem is that we're using converted value and we really want to use display value. So let's go ahead and stop this and change this to display value here. And then the other thing we want to do is just remove any breakpoints that we have in our program. And we can do that by going to the breakpoints variable view here rather, and unchecking this currency.js, which removes the breakpoints that are currently in our program. Then we can run again. And of course, we don't see any output, but remember, it's Command or Control Shift Y, which will open the debug panel. And we are now at $11.36 truncated. Perfect. So we fixed the first of 2 errors. But in the next video, we're going to take a look at this thing right here, which is called a stack trace. We're going to learn how to use it to figure out where the error is, and then how to do something called rewinding the stack trace to further debug.